What's up? I hope you're doing great. I'm Steven, your honest trading coach, and today I want to walk you through how I perform multiple time frame analysis using price action alone in order to make accurate predictions of what the price of an asset may do next, in order to put the odds of success in my favor for all the trades that I place. I do this by identifying things like trend and levels of structure. This type of analysis can work for you no matter where you are in your trading journey, beginner to advanced, and also can work on every asset class, including Forex, stocks, and crypto. So today I'm going to be walking you through all of my analysis on the top 5 major currency pairs, along with Bitcoin, the Aussie New Zealand, and the SPY, or the S&P 500 ETF. So if that sounds good and you want to learn more about multiple time frame analysis, then go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new and click the notification bell. And I'll talk to you right after the intro and disclaimer. Okay, so let's get started. First off, what is multiple time frame analysis? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It means that you're going from one time frame to another time frame in order to perform analysis on 2 different time frames. Now, for me, what that means is looking at the daily chart for things like trend and structure levels, areas of value, and then dropping down to the 4-hour and 1-hour chart in order to place possible trades. You can do this on any combination of time frames you would like, but for today's examples, that's what we'll be doing. So let's start off on the euro dollar. The first thing I do every time I'm performing top-down analysis or multiple time frame analysis is identify the trend on a higher time frame. Here on the euro dollar, what's the trend? Hopefully you were able to say a downtrend. Remember, a downtrend is when price is consistently creating a low, a lower high, followed by a lower low, and followed by a lower high, and followed by a lower low, so on and so forth. And until this cycle breaks, then that is considered to be in a downtrend, and we are considering that a more likely scenario that we continue that downtrend instead of pushing up and breaking above highs until this happens. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. But on the euro dollar, you can see that currently, if we draw out the trend, we have a high, down to a low, up to a lower high, down to a lower low, lower high, lower low, equal high, but as long as we did not break and close above the previous high, we still count this as continuation. So we have continuation of the downtrend pushing lower here, and we have just created what looks like it will probably be our lower high. So the question I have for you at this point is, can we trade right now? Well, sure, you could go down to like really small time frames and look for flag patterns to possibly trade, considering we're in a downtrend on the daily chart, but we're not at any type of area of value right now. So if I'm trading areas of value on the daily chart and dropping down to the 4-hour and 1-hour to place my trades, then what I have to do is be extremely patient. So let me explain what I mean by that. For me, this is when we want to prepare. Is when price is where it is right now. So at this point, I would be preparing. How, you might ask? Well, we just identified that the trend is down, correct? After identifying the trend is down, I want to look for the most likely scenario in terms of where's price going to pull back to and where's it most likely to see resistance that can continue pushing price lower in this downtrend. And for me, the obvious answer to that question is the previous level of structure support that was broken. I like to make an area out of this level, especially if I can get another level in that area. So there's our first hit. Here's our second hit of this support level before the break. So now what I've done is align myself with the higher time frame trend. I've also aligned myself with an area of value I can see on the higher time frame around 1.1186, between that and 1.1123. With those 2 factors coming together, I can now start to prepare to actually place a trade, because now what I'm telling myself and the way that I'm trading this is if price continues down, I don't have a trade right now for trading continuation, but if price pushes up, then I have an area that I can look for trades on smaller time frames using entry reasons. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll go ahead and push the market forward. We already know what happens here. Price did in fact come up, test our zone a few times, and then has pushed down ever since. So in the same way that that's how we would have needed to prepare in the first place, What do you think our preparation should be now? Well, in all aspects of trading, you're always preparing for the two inevitable things to happen. The two inevitable things are that price either continues lower or price starts to go higher. That's really all price can do. Sure, it can play sideways for a while before this happening, but essentially the only two things price is going to do is either go up or go down. So how do we prepare for price going down? Well, if we see price, this is when our if-then statements start to come into play. If we see price come down, break below these lows, what do you think our next move is? Well, trading's about patience. It's about preparing for these scenarios, and after seeing this break, this is what I will be doing. So this is what I'm expecting to happen. And when I say this is what I'm expecting to happen, a lot of times people are like, oh, Steven, you just get on videos and say price could go up or go down. Don't pay attention to what price does right now. I've already said there's absolutely no trade right now for me. What I'm trying to do is prepare myself for the next trade I could possibly have. I would suggest that you do the same in your own trading. So for me, my preparation is that if price continues lower and breaks previous support, I'll wait for a pullback to that previous support level, and this area is where I'll look for possible trading opportunities. So to give you a realistic example of that, what I'm going to do is place a box right here. And this box is where I'll be waiting for a pullback if we get a break below these lows. Now you may be asking, Steven, do you not see this as a level of support? Should I buy right now? The answer to that is no for me. And here, I'll explain the reason why. That way it actually makes sense. So the reason that's a no is because in a downtrend, like we just discussed, what happens? Price goes lower, makes a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Do you realize, hopefully you do, that every time in a downtrend, price pushes to make a lower low, we eventually get this double bottom scenario. Every single time. We got it here before price broke below. We got it here before price broke below. So unless I have this double bottom as a price pattern that's happening at a level of structure looking left, I'm not going to be using this area as support, because the likely scenario, considering we're in a downtrend, is that this area breaks. That is what's more likely. So why would I use it as support, right? So for that reason, I don't use this area as support. But again, for this coming week, if price breaks below this area that you see right here, I'll be waiting for a pullback into that area and price to continue lower. That is my first bit of analysis here on the euro dollar. Now, I not only trade trend continuation, I also trade counter trend. So what I like to do along with this trend continuation model is also look below the lowest point price has gotten to. If I put a horizontal line on the chart, that's 1.0806 right now. If I scroll left, you can see that that area that did provide a bounce, a push up out of price, in fact, was a level of support. Now, what I want to do is look down and to the left and find my next level of support. And I'll explain why whenever I draw it out. Very obvious here, the next level of support is in this area. So why do I want to know this area that I just pointed out? That's our previous support level looking down and to the left from where price is currently at. The reason for that is that if price does in fact break below this support level, the most likely area that price will have a pullback from and push up out of is the area we just drew. It's the next area that we can see on the chart where price was supported in the past. That's the area that if price continues lower, it's most likely to have a pullback from. So for me and my style of trading, I'll be looking for two things throughout the rest of this week and next week, probably going to be next week before this happens. Those two things are, if price does continue lower, I'll be looking for buy trades in this area to push the market up. If we do get any buy trades or price pushes up, or at any point we break this low and push up, I'll be looking at this bigger area here for possible sell trades to continue our overall downtrend on the euro dollar. And you're probably thinking, holy shit, Steven, that was a lot of work. Trading is about the preparation you do before you look at a chart. A lot of traders fall into the trap of jumping onto charts and then just placing a trade. Like right now, oh man, I need to buy because we're sitting here at this little zone. Like I gotta get into a trade right now. That was probably funny, but that's not what trading is about. if you don't already have a plan in place for what you were going to do when price got to a certain area, then you probably don't need to place that trade. At this point, I've set myself up for the week ahead. And I did this last week as well. Let me give you an example of that on the Aussie New Zealand. So last week, I sent out something that we call the Pro Trader Report. I'll put an example of that up right over here. The Pro Trader Report is this analysis that I'm doing with you that I send to students in the TTC Forex University every week. And essentially what I tell them is the areas I'm looking at for possible trades. So last week, or it might have been the week before last, we talked about this area being an area I was looking for long trades in. I then got long in this area. We also talked about this area of resistance, you can see right over here, being an area that I wanted to go short from. And if we drop down to a smaller time frame here, you can see that I'm currently short the Aussie New Zealand from this area because I ended up getting the correct entry reasons on my smaller time frames. And I will do a lot more analysis on the Aussie New Zealand momentarily, but the reason I wanted to show you this is because these trades didn't happen because I just jumped on a chart and went, hey, look, I want to place a trade. These trades happened because of weeks in advance that I did all of this analysis. I did this analysis weeks in advance, and the analysis showed me where I want to get in and out of the market. The analysis showed me my preparation, my best case scenario, my best trading opportunities. So if you're not doing this type of analysis, chances are you're not getting involved in those best case scenarios, and that may be a large reason that your trading doesn't look the way you want it to look right now. Let's go back to the euro dollar though before we continue here. I said earlier that price can do two things, right? The only thing we've prepared for so far, although I know it does in fact seem like a lot of work, the only things we've prepared for is if price goes down. So if price goes down, we want to buy, or I don't take this as financial advice. If price goes down, breaks below these lows, I want to buy from this area. And if price goes down and pulls back to these lows, I want to sell from this area. That's all we've done. What about our second scenario? Our second scenario is that price pushes up. If price pushes up, what are we going to do? Another step of preparation is to be prepared for everything that could possibly happen. Well, for me, if price pushes up higher, if we create a higher low, I do not want to trade this as resistance, because if we create a higher low, our kind of more likely scenario is going to be that we create a higher high. So with that being the case, I'm skipping this level, but I still want to be prepared by looking at the next level of resistance price will hit if it does in fact continue higher. So in the scenario that price pushes up, again, skipping this level altogether, I will be looking right over here at this area of resistance on the euro dollar. If price heads higher, the area between 1.15 and 1.14 essentially is going to be an area I look for possible short trades. Price breaks above this area and does create a higher high, this is a place I'll look for a pullback and possible long trades out of. So that's my analysis and total breakdown of the euro dollar. This part of the lesson was mostly about teaching you the process. We'll go a bit faster now through the rest of the currency pairs we're going to look at and through the Aussie New Zealand, Bitcoin, and the SPY. So let's go ahead and move on now. Let me color in some boxes here on the euro dollar for possible buy zone if we break above that high, sell zone if we continue higher. We have sell zone if we break below this low, and we have buy zone if we continue lower. That's the euro dollar. Let's move on now to the dollar yen. Here on the dollar yen, we're actually also involved in a trade, but walking you guys through that is going to make this video way longer than I wanted it to be. So let's talk about the daily chart of the dollar yen and what should be our analysis. What's our first step? What trend is this market in currently? Anyone can tell this is an uptrend, right? Very easy to see this is an uptrend. And if we're in an uptrend, what's the most likely area that we see a pullback to and a push up from? Well, normally when you don't have this happening, that is the previous level of resistance that was broken, which would be this level right here. Now, there's a chance that price does come all the way back to that level. And of course, if it does, I will absolutely be paying attention right in this zone between 116.31 and 115.37 for possible trades for sure. If we get something like this, this will be my next support zone for absolute sure. But in this case, since we've had such a strong move up, we're gonna have to look left a little bit further and find other zones of resistance. So at this point, we really don't have any support levels until we get back down to this area. Am I saying you cannot buy the dollar yen at all? No, our best case scenario to buy the dollar yen is it to continue showing a strength and then buy the previous level of resistance that was broken. That's the best case scenario we could see for a possible buy trade. But if we start to trend lower, then maybe you're someone that uses Fibonacci's. I'm not saying there's no chance at all, but for the way of trading that uses nothing but multiple time frame analysis alongside price action, we don't have a trade to buy if we start to drop here on the dollar yen until this previous area of resistance. So with that being the case, let's now look above price. So we have to prepare for two situations, right? If price heads lower, what do? We've already got that determined. Here's our support area. If price heads higher, well, first, as we just said, if I get a break of this area, then this area right here will absolutely become an area I look for possible buy trade. So best case scenario, we get a break of our previous high. We pull back into the 124.65 area between that and 123.84, which will be an area I look on lower time frames for possible entries. And later in the video, I'll discuss some of the ways that I enter trades using this type of analysis. But that is one thing I'll be looking for. The next thing I have to look for is what? I need to look above price. If price can do two different things, go up or down, I want to know where price is likely to start pulling back. For that, I have to look above where price currently is. So price is currently at resistance. We have to go way, way back now in order to find the next level. And it's actually not even on the data that we have. So at this point, the dollar yen, is in no man's land going higher. So I don't really have any way to determine an area that price is likely to push down from. Because essentially the dollar yen has not been this high since like 2006. And that's totally fine. Guess what we do in that case? If price goes higher, we don't look for sales. We just sit on our hands. Being patient and waiting for the perfect opportunity is what creates success in your trading. Let's go ahead and move on now to the dollar Swiss. The dollar Swiss here, another trade that we have on. Again, I'm not going to go through it because this video is already going to be quite long. Here on the daily chart, what trend are we in? That's a tricky one, right? That one's tough. We're not really in a trend. And you could argue that we've just broken above highs and we're in somewhat of an uptrend. But is this an uptrend that you really want to be trading? Not me. I don't want to be trading. And I know, but that's from a different strategy because we're long right now. So don't pay attention to this. But this uptrend in terms of exactly what we're discussing today is not something I'd be buying into at the moment. And if we go where price is right now, do we have any type of trade? No. But what are the two options we have? Price can either go lower or price can go higher. If those two things happen, when you prepare like this, trading becomes really simple. The only way I'm searching for buy trades is if price goes up and breaks above this level of resistance. Then I'll look for buy trades on a pullback to this zone between 94 and 94.46. That didn't make any sense. 94.46. And if price goes lower, I'll be looking for buy trades at this area of support. And if we get down, going crazy here. If we get down to this area of support, what does that mean that we've broken? That means we've broken previous support. So this is kind of what I would expect. If we do push lower, I'll be expecting some type of pullback initially from this level, looking left right here. See how straight I can draw this? Not at all. Initially, I'll be looking for a pullback here. I'll be looking here for possible short trades between 0.9117 and 0.9088. That's my possible short trades. I'll be looking for long trades at previous support between 0.8958 and 0.8932. If we push higher, I'll be waiting on a pullback into 0.9446 between that and 0.940. And if we continue higher, what's the only other thing I really need to look at? That's our next level of resistance looking up, which is going to be right in here. And why is that the next level of resistance? Because if we look left, this is the last level of resistance looking up from the highest point price has been, and to the left, this is our last level of resistance, and it's been tested multiple times. If that's the case, this is our likely scenario if price heads up to be an area that price starts to pull back from. This area is between 0.9543 and 0.9511. So that's what I'm looking at here on the dollar Swiss. Let's move on to the pound dollar. We'll start to speed up dramatically now since you know the process. What trend are we in? We're in a downtrend here on the pound dollar. Since we're in a downtrend, what can price do? Price can either go down or up. If price goes down, what am I going to be looking for? Hopefully you already know this. If price goes down and breaks below these lows, then they become the most likely area price will pull back to and continue the downtrend from. With that being the case, I have a zone that's going to be right in here. And when price, or if price does break that zone, then I'll be looking for possible short trades on a pullback up into 1.3052 and 1.2981 between those two areas. If we continue pushing lower, what's another thing I want to look for? Where's the area where I'll most likely see the pullback? The area I'll most likely see the pullback is the low below the one that was just created by price, looking down into the left from this area. Let's put a horizontal line there. Look left, look down. The next area we see that is a low, the one I'm going to pay attention to is this one right here. We have this big area that price used as support, pushing the market higher. So this is where I would expect price to come down to before pulling back. So at this point, we have our area that I'm looking for possible buy trades on the pullback if we continue down in this downtrend. This area is between 1.2814 and 1.2722. If we do push up and price goes higher, what are the things that I'm looking for? First off, if we create a higher low here, looking something like this, then I can, in fact, look at this high if it gets broken as a possible level of support. So the first thing I'll be looking for is, do we get a higher low and do we break above this resistance level? If the answer to those things is yes, then I'll be looking in this area for possible buy trades. If we break this area, pulling back to 1.3297 and 1.3239 will be an area of value that I'm looking for possible buy trades out of throughout the next couple of weeks. And if we continue higher, then this area of resistance right in here will be where I expect the pullback to start happening from, between 1.3626 and 1.3573. So that's what I'm paying attention to on the pound dollar. Let's move on now to our final top 5 most popular currency pairs. That's going to be the Aussie dollar. On the Aussie dollar, we have a really cool situation now. First off, let's start from the beginning. What's the trend of the Aussie dollar? Well, if we look at the most recent moves out of price, it's a bit of consolidation. I'll give you that. Sure, we have a little bit of consolidation here, but we have just broken the highest highs of the consolidation. And also the most recent move out of price is a push up to a high, a pullback to a higher low, and a push up to a new higher high. For me, this would call out an uptrend. This would call out, start looking for buy trades. If I'm going to look for buy trades, then what am I going to look at? I'm going to look at previous resistance that was broken as the next level that could possibly be support. So always think about the preparation, as in price can do two things, as we've already discussed. Price will either continue heading lower or will start heading higher. The first thing I'm going to prepare for, since we're in an uptrend, is where do I want to buy if this pullback continues? If this pullback continues, the place I'll be looking to buy is between 0.7406 and 0.7363. That's where I'll look for possible entries on lower time frames. And now what I want to look for is, what am I going to do if price starts to head higher? Am I going to look right here and go, okay, cool, this is a resistance level, let's sell? No, because we're in an uptrend where resistance levels consistently break if we continue this uptrend. So that's not what I'm going to be looking for. Instead, I'll be looking for another high above price, which would be somewhere around this area. So if we continue higher, then I'm looking at this area as being an area that could provide the push lower, the pullback in this uptrend. This area is between 0.7853 and 0.7795. If we get a break of this resistance level right here, Meaning, I know it's a lot of preparation, but again, guys, this is literally how I trade, and how every trade that I place gives me an advantage using this system is by doing all this preparation. Because now the comforting fact is, if price does push up and create new highs, I'm not sitting here with FOMO going, oh shit, I missed the move. I'm not sitting here just placing random trades hoping I can capture it. I'm already prepared. I know for a fact that if price pushes higher and breaks above this previous level of resistance, the only way I'm getting into a buy trade is a pullback into this major area of value for my perfect trading opportunity around 0.7623 and 0.7575. If that happens, I'll look for possible buy trades in this area. If price continues lower, I'm prepared. I know I'm looking for possible buy trades in this zone. So this preparation takes away a lot of the emotion out of my trading. So that was the top 5 major pairs. Let's now dive into Aussie, New Zealand, Bitcoin, and the SPY. Before we jump into the other pairs, if you want me to do all this analysis for you instead of you having to learn it and apply it to your own trading, this is actually something that every member of the TTC Forex University gets each and every Monday. I send them all of the analysis that I do, including all of the areas that I'm paying attention to for possible trades, just like the Pro Trader report that you saw earlier in the video on the Aussie New Zealand. So if you want more details about that, it comes with a full training course that's university style, organized, essentially a glossary of the techniques and strategies that I've learned over the past decade of my trading career. You get priority coaching support, which means I answer all of your trading related questions. So if you want full details on the TTC Forex University, it's in the description, or you can go to www.ttcfxuniversity.com. If not, no big deal at all. Make sure you are subscribed here though, and click the notification bell. Click the like button if you enjoy this type of content, and I'll try to make a video like this each and every week. Let's dive into the Aussie New Zealand. So as I showed you earlier, we're currently involved in a short trade, and what I want to do in this bit of the analysis and the lesson is show you all the reasons why. So let's go ahead and go to, we're on our daily chart. So let me do this. And we're going to put on market replay mode so I can explain this to you. So here is where price was last week. Now, if you saw price right here, what would you be thinking? What would you be doing? Would you be prepared for if price goes up, are you going to sell somewhere? And if price goes down, are you going to buy somewhere? Because if you're not prepared for those types of situations, for price either going higher or lower, then your trading is going to constantly be confusing. And you can't make money if you're constantly confused and inconsistent. So what I did at this exact point is scrolled left, and I took a look at previous resistance. So I created an area out here. And the reason I created this area is because if I look at price right now, here is the most recent high price created. I want to go above that and to the left to find the next area. Price, if it continues in this uptrend, will likely see a pullback from. Those are my counter trend trading zones. So that's exactly what I did. By looking up and to the left, I found an area of structural resistance on the Aussie New Zealand that's been tested multiple times. And again, I alerted all students of the university that this is an area I would be looking at for possible short trades. So dropping down to a 4-hour chart, I was actually also involved in a long trade from here at this point. So as price continued pushing higher and giving me signs of selling pressure, this is the actual candle that I entered on, is this one right here, this little green candle. And why is that? Well, because all the selling pressure signals that I was receiving out of this area for possible entries. Whenever I have these long wicks coming into play, long wicks mean nothing if they're by themselves in the middle of nowhere. You can see long wicked candles and then see price go in the exact opposite direction. That happens very often. But when you can find areas of value, as well as we do on higher time frames, and with it being an area of value on a higher time frame, it gives it a little bit more validation. And with all that coming together and then seeing major amounts of selling pressure, that gave me all of the indication I personally needed to go short. But you could be a bit more conservative about this and say, I'm going short at the break of these lows, which I think would have happened on the very next candle, maybe the next one. Okay, so that's where you would have gotten in. But I ended up getting in again after seeing a good bit of selling pressure from a zone that I'd already pointed out, from the preparation that I had already done. And that is what has now created a really nice trade for us that's currently only up about a 1-to-1. I'm actually about to move my stop to break even and see if we can get some continued pressure to the downside here on the Aussie New Zealand. That's my breakdown, and that's the part of the lesson where I wanted to show you a little bit about my reasons for entry on lower time frames. Multiple time frames are you looking at a higher time frame for trend and areas of value that are likely to move the market, and then finding reasons to validate that possible entry on lower time frames to take advantage of bigger moves out of price. Okay, so now let's go back out to a daily chart and take a look at Bitcoin. Here on Bitcoin, what kind of trend are we in? Another sticky situation, almost like the dollar Swiss. But the good news for buyers of Bitcoin is that we do in fact have a series of higher lows, although they're only slightly higher, and of higher highs. This is a good sign for bulls. I know it sucks right now. Trust me, I'm long-term holding well over 6 figures in Bitcoin. My account does not look great today, but this is a good sign for people that are long and bullish on Bitcoin, because if I was to call a trend, right now I would almost call this consolidation, but if I was to have to call a trend, then I would call this an uptrend considering our higher lows and higher highs. So at this point, something we should be looking for is the next level that Bitcoin could have its higher low. Now, on the chart right now, the only place I'm seeing that as a likely scenario is one of two places. This level, being an inside level of resistance, is not a super likely scenario, but it is possible. So we could possibly see some longs coming in, some bulls coming in around the 42,714, 42,714, between that and 41,593. This will be my first area of looking for trades, but I will have to have a really conservative entry reason on a lower time frame. So this is how I combine conservative and aggressive. Our actual level of structure is not very powerful. It's just a little inside level. So with that being the case, instead of entering super aggressive as I did on the Aussie New Zealand, that's what I would consider a very aggressive entry. This, I would have to wait for a more conservative entry, like a chart pattern, maybe a double bottom, break of a neckline, and a pullback there would cause me to enter a market, enter a trade here on Bitcoin. But the more likely area of support is actually a bit lower right in here, between the 38,000 mark, between that and 37,000. So about in that area would be a much higher likelihood area where I may decide to take a more aggressive trade. As with every currency pair that we've taken a look at, if price has two different directions it can go, right? We've just prepared for what to do if price goes lower. What are we going to do if price goes higher? If price starts to push up, what is from where we are now, what's the likely scenario? The likely scenario is if we push up, then the next pullback, let me explain what I mean by that. The next time price sees resistance and we get a pullback, if we continue this uptrend, is going to be the next level looking up and to the left. Very obvious level right here. So if we continue higher here on Bitcoin, I'm going to try to encapsulate both this level and this level, then this area between 52,808 and 50,996, or around 51K, is going to be the area that is most likely to provide a pullback out of Bitcoin. If this pullback occurs, or if we get a close above our previous high, considering that we have a higher low, if we go from here and push up, what do you think my move is going to be? My move is going to be to look at this area, if we get a break and close above it, as support. So if we get a break and close that closes above the previous high on Bitcoin, then I'll be waiting on a pullback to happen. I'll be waiting for this pullback to come into 47,804, between that and 46,481. And in this area, I'll look for possible long trades here out of Bitcoin. So that's my analysis on Bitcoin, and that's how you prepare for if price is going to go up or down, which are the only two things price is going to do. So as long as you prepare for both of those situations, you're never going to be jumping into trades because of FOMO. It's going to take all the guesswork out of your trading. And that's why I highly suggest any beginners or even struggling traders that have been doing this for a while, make this type of preparation a habit that you do every single day in order to take the guesswork out of your trading and to avoid FOMO. Now, let's go ahead and move on from our Bitcoin analysis to the SPY, another asset that I am very heavy in terms of long-term holds. I buy the SPY constantly, every single day, a certain amount of it to average in. And unfortunately, days like today, when we have this big gap down, things don't look so hot. But if I was to be swing trading the SPY, that's kind of what I want to get to now. This is what I would be looking at. On the SPY, we have price currently essentially just consolidating between our lows and our highs. We really don't have a trend. Right now, if I was swing trading the SPY and we continued pushing lower, I would not look for a buy trade until 412 in this kind of zone right here. But considering that's not going to happen throughout the next couple weeks, I'm not even going to consider that. What I will consider though is what if price pushes up? If price pushes up, and I guess, look, let's go ahead and put a box here, okay? Because I always talk about it, and I actually do this. If price pushes lower, here's a possible buy zone, okay? For me, in my own trading, it'll be between 417 and 412. That'll be my possible buy zone if price does continue lower. My possible sell zone, if price continues pushing up, what am I looking at? Where's the most likely area to see a pullback if the SPY breaks this high? That rhymed on accident. If the SPY breaks that high, then our most likely area to see a pullback is right here. Our previous high at around 480. So if price pushes up, our most likely area to see a pullback is right here in this zone. And now, if price does in fact push up, what does that mean happened? That means that we broke above our previous high at around 462. So if we break above that previous high around 462, what am I going to be looking out for? Hopefully you said this break above the high. If I was swing trading the SPY, I would then look for a pullback into, if we break this high, I would look for a pullback into between 462.36 and $457.10. This would be my possible buy zone for a swing trade. I would hold that trade until somewhere around the 480 area here on the SPY. Again, do not forget we have some space available inside the TTC Forex University. Now, I do not do analysis on the SPY or crypto at the moment. Inside the university, it's strictly based around Forex, but if you want my analysis across the entire Forex market each and every Monday in the form of an email and a best setups of the week video, very similar to what you saw, except across the entire market, then go ahead and go to www.ttcforexuniversity.com or ttcfxuniversity.com. They'll take you to the details of the university. We'd love to have you aboard. If not, that's totally fine too. Ensure that you are subscribed. If you made it to the end of the video, I want to give you something special. If you will comment below one of a currency pair, an asset of any kind. It can be crypto, it can be in the stock market, it can be Forex. The top commented asset or the top commented currency pair, crypto or stock, I'll add to our next week's analysis. If I continue doing these videos, be sure to comment and let me know if you enjoyed this. Be sure to click that like button to let me know to continue making content like this. Hope you guys had a great week so far. Hope you continue to trade green, and I'll talk to you in the next video. See you soon.